Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you again. I've got an amazing guest, someone who is actually a mentor and a teacher to me, Marc Allen. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marc Allen here in a moment. We're talking about being an enlightened millionaire, and this is something that the world needs a lot more. I know, Marc, at one point you told me, you said, yeah, I think everyone should be an enlightened millionaire, right? So,
Yeah, why not?
Great. So we're going to talk more about that in a moment. So Marc Allen is an internationally renowned seminar leader, entrepreneur, author, and composer. He co-founded New World Library with Shakti Gawain in 1977 and has guided the company as president and publisher from a small startup to its current position as a major player in the independent publishing world. He has written several books, including The Magical Path, The Greatest Secret of All, The Millionaire Course, Visionary Business, and others. As a gifted speaker and seminar leader, Marc works with people around the globe to craft lives of lasting abundance and prosperity, which is key. His online programs include The Magical Path, Success with Ease, that's awesome, and Visionary Business, The Power of the Feminine, and how to get published, happily published, how to get happily published. And to learn more about his programs, you can just visit www.marcallen.com. I love it. So Marc, it's just an honor to have you here today.
Well, thanks. It's my pleasure. Love your show.
All right, so let's dive in. So tell us, as it relates, tell us about, it's usually a good place to start with someone's story when they come on. So tell us a little bit, because I love your story. One of the things, the reasons why I feel so connected to learning from you is I really self-identify with this idea of being lazy. Just that concept, like you're lazy and hopelessly lazy, maybe even. And I relate to that, even though I've been very driven and, hardworking and all that stuff at times in my life. I relate more from my upbringing and as a kid, being happy-go-lucky, lazy, just do whatever I feel like doing, just mess around. And I was always, and so when you brought this concept, no, you could be lazy and have what you want, and like that hit it just blew my mind. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Because you talk a lot about being hopelessly lazy, and I'd love for you to start with telling us about that and your experience of going from that feeling of like things not working out, maybe I'm just too hopelessly lazy, to having the successes that you have.
Yes, I am lazy, and I never was a morning person. Even as a kid, getting up for school seemed inhumane to me. It just it was too much, but that was the system we were all brought up in. The day that really changed my life was my 30th birthday. Through my 20s, I struggled. I had a rock band for a while. I did what I loved. I always had that key, which has served me really well. I knew it was important to do what I love. My dad wanted me to go into business. Forget it. I wanted to be a musician and an actor, and then a spiritual seeker. And I did all those in my 20s. I wandered around, but I had no money. I was a total poverty case, and not even all that much interested in it until the day I turned 30. And I was in a little slum apartment in Oakland, very cheap rent, bars in the windows, not a nice neighborhood. You would not want to raise a kid in that neighborhood or anything. And I turned 30, and this voice said, "You're 30. You're not a kid anymore." Somehow, being 29, it was cool to be a struggling spiritual artist or something. But the day I turned 30, that really changed for me. And I spent most of the day alone, pacing up and down in my little apartment. And that day changed my life. Looking back, I think you could even say I was a different person at the end of that day than I was at the beginning of the day. Because at the beginning of the day, I woke up realizing I had no direction. I'd never made a plan to do anything. I'd always just through my 20s sort of followed stronger people into a theater company, into a band, and followed a guru for a while, tried spiritual things. I was a follower, and I had no direction. So no wonder I'd gotten nowhere. I thought it's like, we're like ships. If we don't have a destination, we're not going to get anywhere. And this became clear to me on my 30th birthday. So I remembered a little game I'd played during this disastrous back to the land experiment I did when I was about 22, where we were sitting around a fire and this couple said, let's play this game we play at church camp. Let's imagine 5 years have passed and everything has gone as well as you could imagine. What would your life look like? We all went around the fire. When I first did it at 22, I realized I couldn't remember when I was 30 a word of what I said. So it had no impact whatsoever in my life. But the day I turned 30, I thought, this is a good idea. And this time I wrote it down. I literally put ideal scene. And I said, much to my amazement, I thought, okay, 5 years have passed. I'm 35. Whoa, that's like middle-aged. Okay, what do I want at 35? And I'd had no interest in business whatsoever or anything. But what spilled out was, I have a successful publishing company that cruises along. And when I dared dream my ideal, it was, and I don't work too hard in it. None of these 40-hour work weeks. I'd had a few little 40-hour work week jobs, and I thought they were inhumane. I did not like to work that many hours, especially if it involved getting up in the morning. And so I let my whole ideal spill out. And then I even put at the top a big affirmation. I said, I'm creating success in an easy and relaxed manner, a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time for the highest good of all. I listed all, then I took another sheet of paper and I listed all my goals. Start a publishing company, start writing a book, start recording music, start learning about real estate. It was all start, because I had nothing going on, Then I stared at the goals, and then I wrote every goal as an affirmation. I am now creating a successful publishing company in an easy and relaxed manner. And that became kind of my unique contribution to humanity, because it really appealed to my lazy side. I said, okay, I want to start a business, but do it in my own lazy way, work musician's hours. Like you never do anything before 1 in the afternoon. As soon as I dared dream it, I remember just being overwhelmed with doubts and fears, saying, it's impossible, Mark. And I heard my dad's words, if you start a company, you've got to work 60 to 80 hours a week. That's the rule.
Yeah.
And so I literally argued with my doubts and fears, pacing up and down. I said, well, let me try it as an experiment. I latched onto that word. I'd heard about Buckminster Fuller. Somebody had told me about this amazing guy who called his life a 50-year experiment. And that concept I latched onto. I said to my doubts and fears, this is my experiment. I'm going to start my own business, but do it in my own lazy way. Sleep in as late as I want. They said, impossible. And I literally said, let me try it as an experiment. Give me a year or two. I said, it won't work. I said, well, if it doesn't, I'll be no worse off than I am right now. I had no money, no job whatsoever. I was scrounging every month to come up with rent. And it wasn't much rent. Back in the 70s, it was $65 a month rent that I was scrounging for. And so that's how I got around it. I started as an experiment to create the life of my dreams, but do it in my own lazy, relaxed manner. And I found out it works. Our concept of a 40-hour work week is totally arbitrary. The amount of hours we work is only a minor part of what it creates of creating success. I found it's very flexible. And so I started from the beginning, just working when I felt like it, sleeping in. And then actually in the very beginning, because I knew nothing about finance, had I known then what I know now, I would have been able to get the thing financed much faster. But the only thing I knew, because I knew nothing about business, was get a job, any job, and try to save 20% and put it into my company. And so I did that at first. I got a perfectly horrible job starting at 8:30 in the morning, which I couldn't stand. So I looked around. Then I got a better job starting at 4 in the afternoon, 4 to midnight. Okay. But then I got fired from that job for not showing up on time. So I went off on my own. It was a job typesetting. And when I got fired, I just started looking around and typesetting things on my own. And I was immediately making 3 or 4 times the money than I had in my little job. So I even developed a little company called Whatever Bookworks, and typeset books, help people do books as I was learning how to do books. And that then financed my company. And so then on my own, I could sleep in, I could work my own hours. So ever since then, I've created a very successful business in my own lazy way. I just got in before it's 2 o'clock here. I got in about 5 minutes to 2, and that's typical for me.
Wow, wow. I really want to dive into that one little subject there for a moment, is because I've seen so much information lately about the 5 o'clock club, the 5 a.m. club, the 4 a.m. club, whatever it is. Before you know, it's going to be 3 a.m., 2 a.m. club. And it's like and then all these videos often have the same kind of energy, like, you gotta work, you gotta get up, you gotta do this morning routine, if you want to succeed, you must be the hardest working guy in the room. And so, and I love that there's a counter example to that. And I guess I would want to, for my mind, I would want to challenge what you say a little bit. Like, okay, you've had a very successful company. It's been incredible. You've published all kinds of people. I think you've even published too, like Eckhart Tolle, right?
Yes, The Power of Now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's, just so many people that people would recognize, and so successful, and yet my mind will want to almost argue and say, but wait a minute, Mark, you've been doing it a lazy way, but what if you worked harder? Could you, like, as far as like results go, right? Like, you could create a bigger company, you could create bigger things, bigger, better. And so, and I bet and I know, because I told somebody about you, and they said, oh yeah, but he must, and then they said, oh, but he must work hard at times. He must like really get after it at times. And so like that. So I was wondering what reflections you have on all that.
I do work hard at times. I'm not really hard, no.
Not hard, but a lot.
In bursts, in creative bursts. Sometimes I'll get up in the morning and feel like writing, and that's some of my best writing.
Yeah.
And it'll just spill out quickly. I find if I just follow my own energy, I definitely take care of business. Boy, I'll whip through a bunch of emails. I can do letters. People here are sometimes really amazed how fast I can do a letter. They say, oh, we need a letter to so-and-so. And 4 minutes later, there's the letter. And so, yes, I do sometimes work very quickly and efficiently, but I do it just following my own energy. And from the very beginning, that was my experiment. And it's much better for my health. I'm knock on wood, I am in perfect health. I hardly ever even get a cold or anything. Mm-hmm. And all these guys, and mostly guys, it seems, that are saying, work harder, they end up burning out or getting sick, or even just, they get serious colds. I think it's the whole universe and their body just telling them, hey, at times you got to slow down. You got to relax and rejuvenate. So I relax and rejuvenate every day. So I do have lots of energy. Like right after this, it'll be 3 o'clock here. I'll probably work a focused 3 hours, maybe I'll whip through. I've got about 160 emails to whip through. Mm-hmm. Most of them are just delete. But I'll do a focused, I do maybe 20 hours a week focused here in the office at that. Uh-huh. And when I'm focused, I really am working at a pretty efficient speed. A while ago, I gave a talk to these high school kids. They did a business week at Sonoma State University here. And I followed this guy. There was like 200 students or something. And I followed one of those motivational monsters. And it was this, it was like, you got to get up early. You got to be the first one in that office. You got to be the last one out. He was telling them, you can't have a life outside of your work, and that you should work so hard. It's going to be bad for your health. And I finally came up and I told the kids that. They never asked me back there. That was like 5 years ago. But my first words to them, I watched the guy exit and I took the mic and I said, well, they say the early bird gets the worm, but maybe the late bird will get a whole Happy Meal.
Right. A good one.
And you know, they always talk about the early bird, but what about the early worm? How did that work out for him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that, and that's the whole point, right? Is you can get into all this workaholism and all that, and say like, look at my empire. But what I find is mostly every time I meet with those people in private, they're falling apart inside. They're not as happy as they show on the outside at all, and so they're not happy. They're not really fulfilled, and it's never enough. And they're always obsessed by the next level. And
right, it's that inner pusher. We did this whole book about voice dialogue that Shakti Gawain really got into in Living in the Light. Helen Sidra Stone, and they identify all these inner sub-personalities we have. And our culture has this inner pusher. Mm-hmm. Very strong in most people, very dominant, to always push for more and more and more. And that destroys your serenity. It destroys your happiness every day. Mm-hmm. One of the first books I found that really changed my life was called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I did a version called As You Think and made it gender neutral. Mm-hmm. But his whole thing is we create from our minds first, of course. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. It opens with a poem. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. And we are mind, and evermore we take the tool of thought, and shaping what we will, bring forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. We think in secret, and it comes to pass. The world is but our looking glass. I reflected on those words, and that whole book changed me. And his whole last chapter is on serenity. The ultimate success, the ultimate successful person, when you look at them, what do they have? They have serenity. They have inner peace. They have even a calmness and ease. And that to me is my ideal. That becomes my goal. I want a life of ease. I want serenity. I want to be able to enjoy whatever's in the moment at any moment. I'm terrible around here in terms of productivity. I go around, I'm always telling jokes to my employees and getting them off track and, you know, taking them out for something, or because to me, the most important thing is to enjoy each moment of our lives as much as we can. And sure, along the way, let's create success. My ex-wife used to say exactly what you said. She said, you know, if you did work just a little harder, she said, if you got up an hour earlier, you know, you'd probably even be more successful. And I thought about that for about 2 seconds and said, one, I don't want to get up an hour earlier. It's very important to me and my health to sleep as long as I feel like it. That's a no-brainer to me. That's part of my ideal scene. Yeah. The other thing, even if I am more successful, that means I'm working harder every day, another hour harder, you're saying. So I'm working harder. I'm working more than I physically want to. And I'll probably end up getting sick or burned out or, you know, whatever. So it has some emotional repercussions. Now I do enjoy every day. Every day I wake up, it's my favorite day of the week because I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what we would call a true total freedom, you know, versus what's advertised by some people and then they're not really experiencing that, right? So, yeah, true inner freedom. I mean, everybody would love to have that, right? Every day is my play day. And I do find, like, overall, the people I interview here on this show is, you know, the people that the great things that they're doing is because they're playing. They're just having fun doing it. It's just like, I'm having the best time creating this. And that's what creates the success. And I think that people don't understand that that's available to them, because they've been indoctrinated into the striver model. You know, you got to achieve it. You gotta measure up to it, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
So it's like, and then you're never enough, right? And then it's never enough what you create, all that whole vicious cycle that's get created. I think that's most of the representatives that we've been in our face over the years have been people are really in that. It seems to me, anyway. It seems like a lot of. I hate to say that sometimes. I don't want to feel like I'm dissing on other people, right? But I'm like, it seems like that's what it is. And what I'm so passionate about is what you talk about. That's why I've been learning from you. It's like, I believe that it wouldn't be that way. That there's a way for ever greater things to unfold. And hearing some static come up. Do you hear that?
There's a car that a real loud car. Is that what you're hearing?
Oh, okay. It's gone now.
In a second.
Oh, okay. It's all good. Okay. So, but anyway, my point is just that what I've been talking about a lot is my experiences is when I trusted more, is there is that power. Like Eckhart Tolle, for example. I'll go right to him. He's a great example.
Yes. He's lazy too. We've hung out. He said, I'm as lazy as you are, Mark.
Exactly. And that's why my point is, like, I don't know, from what I've heard, he's got like tens of millions of dollars, in his bank account. I don't know. But all I know is, like, he's having as much impact as anybody that I know on the planet, in a positive and healthy manner, right? Easy, relaxed way. And he's making more money. I mean, even people, the metrics of making money, but people go there in their head. It's like he's got more money. He's got tons of money from what I know. So, and it's easy.
It doesn't matter to him in the least. He was asked about making money, and he said, well, for years I had no money, and that was okay. And now I have money, and that's okay too. He did say a wonderful thing to me. He said, I asked him why he thought the power of now was so successful. And he said, all he knows is that he waited for every sentence to emerge from presence. So even in his writing, there was no pusher at all. He was just sitting and coming from presence, every sentence. That's why it's such an amazing book. And so, of course, it took him a long time to write that book, and he didn't push it in any way. He does not have that type A workaholic drive that most of us, our entire culture has it. And our education begins with it. You're 6 years old, you're stuffed behind a desk to sit there for 6 hours a day. No 6-year-old kid wants to do that. I remember taking my son to his first year of first grade, and he got up early, he didn't like it. We were walking up to school. He looked up at me and said, Dad, how long do I have to do this for? And it just broke my heart, because I didn't want to say, well, 12 years, when you're 6 years old, that's an eternity, But that's our culture. We do have this workaholic culture. And what I've done is really contrary. It's pretty radical, contrary to what we were told, often with vehemence by parents, schools, society. There's got to be a easier, gentler way, and there is. And in the long run, it's the best way, because you stay healthy and you enjoy life a lot more.
Yeah. And I did these two books here, again, the Millionaire Course that I read every day. Twice I dive in there and look at it. And then I got the Magical Path, which I'm taking a course with you in this. She'll be opening up again in May. I'm not sure when this will air yet, but in both of these, it gives you the instructions of another way of approaching it. And what's just so obvious, really, but people just don't trust it because of the conditioning is, hey, if most people that listen to this are aware of the subconscious and how that, drives their life and all that. It's like, if you just change your belief structure, anything can be true. I mean, okay, I work 1 hour a day and I'm impacting millions of people and I'm making millions of dollars. Okay, well, honestly, if you set your energy and intention clear enough, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be possible, assuming it is something that you truly want. It's truly something you desire and you put your full attention to it. I don't see any reason why it couldn't be true, right? It's
Right.
just a matter of getting the energy so that it'll happen that way. And then that's where we experience what you call the magical path, right?
Right. Right. Eckhart summed it up brilliantly in The Power of Now in one sentence, I think. He said, if you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. Yeah, that's a simple, easy way to do it. Our beliefs, I took a wonderful seminar when I was 28 on beliefs, and I realized, and the teacher made it clear, that our beliefs are not true in themselves. Many people have very different sets of beliefs, but they become true in our experience if we believe them. So we can change those beliefs. And in my books, I have the process I learned in that seminar called the core belief process, where you get down to what is that deep underlying belief. And if it's not working for you, if that belief is life is a struggle, it's so hard to succeed, it's hard to make money, money doesn't grow on trees, okay, change it. You can change it. You can start counter statements to say, actually, money does grow on trees. For me, it certainly does, because I publish books. We take paper from trees, put it into a book, print that book for $1, and sell it for 15. So money grows on trees.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So these beautiful books here, and this Millionaire Course you said has been obviously the book is amazing, and it gives a lot of information about that. And then you also talk about well, I wanted to backtrack. Actually, we're just having an authentic, in the moment kind of conversation here. So I'm just backtracking in my own mind. You said something I wanted to follow up on first. You talked about the patience, right? Being patient with letting things emerge. And I think that's what kind of is one of the big things that is missing for people, because that is something another person that you've worked together with, because I did a publishing contest with you guys once. James Twyman, he was on this show as well, and he talked about that. We talked about the subject, and he says people are just, they just try to throw things together and make it work, and then it doesn't work out so well or whatever, and they don't have the patience to just let it come into them. And he talked about how that was so instrumental in him being able to do things he's been doing. So I think there's really something about harnessing just being in the presence and harnessing the energy and letting it happen just the moment it wants to happen, which is a practice that I am in too. And I want to keep deepening in throughout my life. Mm-hmm. But it's like just the more you can trust that, it seems like the more awesomeness you can experience. So could you talk about that?
As You Think has 2 great poems in it. And the second one, the last words are, be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. I've repeated that so many times to myself, and it's so true. Be not impatient, but wait as one who understands. All nature is very patient. It takes its time. Magical creation, real magic, takes its time. All this, I've always been interested in magic, not just phony magic tricks or fantasy, but real magic. It takes its time. Be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. When we dare visualize what we want, when we dare create a goal and start affirming we're now creating success in an easy and relaxed manner, when our spirit rises and commands, I love that phrase, the creative forces of the universe rush in to support us. And we're shown exactly what next step to take. And then we take it. I really believe it's just the inner work of getting your subconscious focused on a goal without having doubts and fears undermine it. So I think 99% of the work I've done has been all internal. Because you dare to dream, what happens? Doubts and fears arise. Okay, deal with those doubts and fears. We know how to do it. We've been dealing with doubts and fears all our lives. Get on the same sheet. Get that inner critic to support your dreamer and visionary, not to undermine it. Your inner critic has wisdom and can help the dreamer if it's support. So I literally say to my inner critic, my dreamer says, don't shoot down my dream. My dream's important. I insist on it. I insist you support it. But show me the right steps to take. Show me, because you have discriminating wisdom. So tell me, oh, do this, but don't do that. Help me. And you get all those inner voices. You kick the inner skeptic out of there. I don't see any good the inner skeptic does. Just pure skepticism, in the current modern use of the word, is just negative. So you get rid of the skeptic. Go get out of here, skeptic. You're not useful. Your critic can be very useful. Get the pusher to take a vacation. Say to the pusher, go on a cruise. Take a break. Get out of here. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna have my inner child here having some fun while I'm doing this. I don't want to work. My inner child doesn't like discipline and work one bit. And my inner child wants to be creative and do all this, and will love to work on different projects. I was just thinking the other day, I always say I'm going to go work on a book. I work on a book, but the music, of course, I always say I'm going to go play music. You play with music. But a book is work, but it's very good work. It's the best part of work to do. And I keep affirming I'm doing it in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I've said that thousands and thousands of times. And I really think, looking back, just repeating those words, easy, relaxed, healthy, positive, completely affects your body. Yeah. Completely. They're powerful, powerful words.
Yeah. They certainly are. And you repeat them again and again in your books.
Yes.
And I don't have it posted on a wall or anything yet, but I do. I find myself repeating the phrase a lot now because I'm in your course and everything. You keep saying it. So it's like, it just kind of keeps coming back into me as a reminder. So that's the great thing about mantras and affirmations, is they're those stones that just like, oh yeah, it's right there still. Yeah.
Yep.
Let that happen. Let that be.
Another phrase when I read The Power of Now, I told Eckhart, I can't finish the book. I'm stuck on page 155. I got up as far as 154, and it came to the phrase, to offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. I ended up going back to that phrase every day, and that became a mantra for me for about like 18 months or something. I'd go to read The Power of Now, and I'd say, no, I'm still working on that sentence. To offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. Just repeating those words. First, okay, let go of all resistance. What are you resisting in this moment? Just let it go. It is what it is, accept what is. And then by doing that, you're filled with grace, ease, and lightness. And just saying those words actually brings it into your life. It feels like grace is something that descends almost. Ease is something that comes from within. Just as all our stress, we purely create all our stress internally. We can create ease internally. We can let that stress go and literally have grace, ease. And once we have grace and ease, the lightness just automatically happens. Yes, the power of words, the power of repeating words has been a huge part of my path.
Yes, and one of the things that's been helpful for me is again, I have ones that I've done on my own that have been similar, but I really enjoy yours, is the middle pillar meditation. Just that getting centered, because the truth is when we get into that center, when that place, the way I look at it is through my chakras and all that stuff, and right in that center place inside of us. it's like when we're really in connected with that and we're living from that space is how I look at it anyway. I'm living from that space. I'm in my body. I'm relaxed. Whatever's going on in my head and everything is just kind of like just happening. It's just okay, that's happening. I'm able to be the observer. I'm able to allow that ease, and life becomes a lot easier. It's like going from the sense of struggle to do anything. Like I think about like going to when I go to play tennis, for example, in the past. I go to play tennis. Okay, if you're stressed out, you're trying to make it happen. I know how to play and win like that. But when I'm more relaxed, I'm actually more capable. I'm more able to not miss things. I'm more able to be on top of whatever's happening because I'm just being centered. I'm in that center, and being that in that center is, to me, is kind of like everything in a way, you know, like it's all right there. And as long as we just keep returning back into that center with a wonderful anchor that it just helps with the middle pillar meditation,
Yeah.
everything is right there. And so if anything you'd share about the middle pillar meditation, about what I'm talking about here, would be great. In fact, if you wanted to, we could even give people a taste of it. But
yes, let's do. I would love to do that. I do it often through the day, and I often just do a very simple three breaths. Often I do it with one breath, but yes, let's just do it. Just sit comfortably and take a deep breath, close your eyes, and then feel the top of your head. You can even tap it if you want a little bit, or just feel that energy at the top of your head. Take a deep breath, and then as you exhale, just feel that energy go through your whole body, just calming, relaxing, rejuvenating every cell. Just relax, relax. Take one more deep breath, and again, from the top of your head, just relax. Feel a wave of relaxation go through your whole body, all the way down as you exhale. And then just one more time, and as you exhale, just let everything go. Let all thought go. And just feel that vibrant presence you have within. See that vibrant life energy just bathing every cell of your body and healing, rejuvenating every cell. And just sit for a moment in silence. And that's really just a very short, simple version of it, but it takes you right to the center of your being, and it's a wonderful thing to do throughout the day. And then, of course, from that space, from your centered, silent space within, you can then visualize anything you want. You can do all kinds of things. You can heal your body. You can send healing energy to any part of your body. You can visualize exactly where you want to be in a year or 2 or 5. In your mind's eye, you can just see that dream house and your dream work, and your dream relationship. You can just picture it. And then it's good to end with some good affirmations that help you remember and recall those images. Like, I am now creating the life of my dreams in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time, for the highest good of all. So be it, so it is.
So it is.
So there's a good short version of it, and you can have it even shorter. One breath, just one breath, let all thought go.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. That's one of the things I like in the magical path. You show different lengths of to do that. You could do it this way. You could go deeper and do it like this and like that, and you can breathe up through one side of your body and then down the other side, and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it is amazing how we overcomplicate everything and how the simplest things are almost always right the most powerful things.
Yes, yes. I was remembering, and we've all had peak experiences. We've all had amazing awakening experiences, but then we forget them. Or I remember what would happen with me in my 20s often. I'd grab hold of something, and then another voice, this inner critic or whatever, would say, "Oh, it's much more complicated than that, Mark. This involves your subconscious mind, and it's infinitely complicated and deep. And it's not that simple. It's not that simple." But somewhere along the line, I realized it is that simple. And I was able to say to the inner critic, yes, it's totally simple. Eckhart, in The Power of Now, really what he says is totally simple. To offer no resistance to life is the simple key. The problem isn't out there. The problem is within us because we're fighting against what is. We're not happy with what is. We're not happy with this moment. We need something else to be happy, we think. But it's so simple to just let go of resistance to what is. This is what is. Oh yeah, it's like Ram Dass, Be Here Now. And I saw this old Alan Watts book. Alan Watts was saying it in the 60s. This is it. This is it. That says it. They're all saying it. This moment is all we have. The past is dead. The future isn't here. So why worry about anything? Just be here now. This is it. Offer no resistance. Great advice from the masters for a life well lived.
I always say it doesn't get any better than this. Whatever moment it is, it doesn't get any better.
Well,
Everybody thinks another moment's going to be better, but it really isn't. You might experience it as better, but from your perspective, but it isn't any better.
That's great. I've never heard it quite said that way. I like that. Doesn't get any better than this. It's true. It doesn't. That's good. I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, and one of the things I love too, and I showed you real quick. I just flashed it up on the screen earlier. Was my what is well. It doesn't matter what's on it. Just people like it. It's just here it is. Here's my whole business plan this year, right there, basically. What page business plan? That was inspired from your book, The Millionaire Course. It's in there. It talks about making a 1-year business plan and just put all in one sheet. And I don't know if I followed all your instructions or I just did it my own way, but I just put all in one sheet was my big thing. And then it has what I want on it and what I felt I needed or wanted on there. I focus on that every morning. I just take it out. I'm like, okay, I'm going over it again. Okay, I'm just being with it. Okay, all right. Yeah. So I go over my 5-year plan. It's all really, really brief, really short. And I just look through everything. I'm just like, okay, yep, okay. So it's just like a way, just constantly soaking it in and soaking it in and soaking it in. It's so easy when a lot of people just feel like business is so complicated. There's so many things to deal with and so many things to learn. And how do you get yourself out there? How do you market? How do you sell? How do you find people? This is where a lot of people probably are. They're listening. And what suggestions do you have people that make their heads are making the business so complicated for them?
Right.
What can you say what further things can you say to help simplify it for them?
I think you just said it, that the power of a one-page plan and of a simple focused goal, if you just keep that simple focused goal, yes, there's a million details, but get that inside right and you figure out the details. They're not that complicated. Everything whatever you do, you can learn how to do it. So now with the internet, especially, you can Google anything, how do I do this? How do I do that? And there it is on Google, where you can find out any information you need to know easily if you're focused on that goal. And that to me, and you've got it. And I love the way you're doing it. Of course, you're doing it in your own way. And I always encourage people to adapt whatever I say and find their own way to do it. But for me too, it's having a one-page plan, having the goal at the top, tells my subconscious mind, okay, this is happening. And then the next step to take just becomes obvious. It becomes easy. And all I need to learn about hiring people, how do I, bam, you Google it or you talk to somebody, or the information's all there. We have oceans of information to access, especially now with internet. I mean, we don't even have to leave our room to do this stuff. I started before internet, and I didn't know. My first business plan for my business was very simple. The goal at the top was create a successful publishing company. All I could think of, my entire plan had two things. One was read a used business 101 textbook, and two, talk to people who knew more about business than I did. That was literally my first one-page plan for my company, because I knew nothing about business. I had no interest in business. I didn't know what a corporation was. I didn't know anything. And so I literally got a used business 101 textbook, and I went down to the corner where these people had a sauna that I went to all the time, and I knew them. And I said, oh, so you're a business. So how do you start a business? I remember that. And they said, oh, it's easy. You go to Civic Center and you file a fictitious business name statement. I said, what is that? They said, well, your business has to have a name. And they just, okay. So the information is just always there. I went down to Civic Center and I did that. And then the next step became obvious. So,
perfect.
Like get business cards, I think was the next step. Make a card with your business on it. Get a phone. Stuff like that becomes obvious. All the number of details in any successful business or career becomes very obvious if you're just focused clearly on the end result. Keep the end in mind.
Yes. Yes, and that is one thing I've always preached to myself. I mean, I feel like we're always teaching ourselves, right? Everything we say, we're like reminding ourselves at some level.
Yes, me too.
And so I've always said that. I always tell people when they say, I don't know where to get started, I don't know what to do. I'm like, what's the one step right now you're aware of? Right. Guess what? After you're done with that one, then just take what's the next obvious step is.
Right. And each one is a small step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one small step. You don't have to make huge, big leaps. I even keep saying, I found in all of this stuff and all of these things I teach in the magical path or success with ease, there's nothing to believe. I never had to come to believe in anything or make a leap of faith or anything. I just tried these things, like the middle pillar. Just try it. See what happens. Try to focus on your goal and affirm it. You don't have to, I want to believe that affirmations work. No, just do them. And you'll find out in your experience, they work.
Yes.
Very powerful. What we tell ourselves. In the beginning was the word. What we tell ourselves in our minds has an effect in the world. Mm-hmm. So that's where all the work is, for sure.
The funny thing is the more we try to force and pound it into our consciousness, sometimes actually makes it less effective. But whereas the more ease and just natural presence just occurring is where the real deep magic is. Because I find that in business, I always use like food examples, like at restaurants, like it happens all the time for me. I just have the whimsical thought, oh, I'd love one of those. And then they bring it to me. It just happened countless times to me. And it's like, I feel it's, I mean, like if there was an actual God, a God, kind of thing, like, it's almost as like, there's like, here, I'm trying to show you how easy it is. Would you just, here, let it be easier. And I'm like, wow, all I have to do is just on a whim, oh, I kind of like that. And then it happens. And
Mm,
the more I practice that in my business and let it be that easy, it is. And I'm just absolutely delighted. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. You just get whatever you want. But I mean, just natural. It's not like it's actually just an arising of an awareness of that I want this. And I just like, yeah, that'd be great. And I'm not even trying to get it. I'm not trying to get it, so, which is the key, I think. Like, it's the key is just like, I'm just like, I'm not even anticipating that it's happening or not happening. Hey, I just love that. And then it just happens. And it's the most delightful thing in the world to just have everything just showing up. And it's always right on time when we just to let it happen. This is what I noticed. Yeah.
yes. What you're saying reminds me of a funny thing T. Harv Eker said. He said, the universe is like a huge warehouse. And when we just say we want something, the whole universe starts filling our order. But if then the next thing we say is, oh, but it's so hard, it's so complicated, the universe cancels the order. And so then we ask it again, it starts filling. And he says, finally, the universe gets real mad at us and says, would you make up your mind? You want this or not? First you say you want it, then you cancel it. Then you say you want it, then you make up your mind. From what you're saying, you've obviously made up your mind. Because your orders are being fulfilled, that means you're not canceling those orders with doubts and fears.
Right. Right. And that's why it works even better for me in those environments, so I don't have any fear there. I'm not worried about it at all. And the more I've allowed myself to be less fearful in the business or any other aspect of life, like, then it's happening the same exact way. It happens the same exact way. So I think that's why maybe there's some wisdom when people say start with the parking spaces. There's some wisdom to that because you don't really have a big fear of not getting that parking spot. It's like, okay, if it happens, great. Then I can say, wow, I got a great parking space. It happened, oh, well, but it always happens because, it's not a big deal to you, but it's fun to do. And I think the fun is where it's at. It's like, it just interests you. It's just fun. And then you just like, yes, you're just like, yeah, I'd love to have that. And so that's what I always notice for myself, but I also notice it for other people. I constantly can see it in others as well, through, I guess it's because it's, it's that oneness feel, right? I can see it everywhere now. So it's just such a light. And, but I really loved, I just want to last some last things for today. It's just this book, both of them, but the Millionaire Course, just has some things that are really reassuring to me that I want to grow into. I want to grow into some of the generosity you're into, like, hey, take good care of your employees and do super generous and all this stuff. And you give suggestions and structures of how to work with employees, partner with them. Don't treat them like they're like, hey, you're just my employee. Like, I love that. And so many other things in here that are really around like fulfilling the highest destiny for everyone, that there's a conscious enlightened path that's there, and you give some of the ideas of the structure too that I appreciate, letting people participate in the growth of the company and being so receptive to what they have to share, realizing they're just as brilliant as we are. They have the insights and we just listen. And I used to feel like with people that work and help me, I feel like, oh, I got to get on them sometimes. I even almost yell at them. I'm like, you can't do this anymore. And then life would show me like they wouldn't listen to me, like it'd get worse even. And I found like, oh, this doesn't work. But when I was more just loving and compassionate, I was like, oh, that's okay. All right, next thing. And it actually worked better. Like it was like the opposite of what I thought. And the more I valued their inputs, the more I would be like, okay, we're partnering on this, me and whoever I'm working with, the more ease and more, I don't know if it's always more success, but if there's more ease and there's more sense of like, it's just happening, like things are happening.
I really think there is more success. I know from the beginning, I knew this piece of the puzzle. When I first got my first employees to do shipping, I remember it was, and I thought to myself, okay, what do I want as an employee if I'm working for myself? What do I want? And immediately it was, I want total respect. I want to do my job in my own way without being micromanaged. I want profit sharing. I want a great pension plan. I want health benefits. I realized, oh, that's what I wanted as an employee. So of course, that's what I work to give every employee. And I saw the incredible effects of profit sharing, especially. I give half my profits to my employees. As long as I'm an employee, I get part of that half too. But uh, the owners get half, employees get half. That immediately gets every employee thinking like an owner, and that immediately generates incredible creativity. And I know, and I can show people on paper, because I give employees half my profits, I make more than twice the profits. That's a total win-win. If every corporation, or many, many more corporations, would do profit sharing with every employee, we'd change the world. We'd rebuild this middle class. I realized, I want all my employees to get wealthy over time. All my employees, you stay with me. I call it the Get Rich Slowly with Marc program. I even say the Get Rich Quickly is bring me in a New York Times bestseller, and I'll give you part of the profits. And one or two people have done that over the years for me. But the Get Rich Slowly, you stay with me 10 years, you'll have built this pension plan, and you'll have assets, and you get profit sharing. And I don't know, I really don't know why every corporation doesn't realize. I don't know why Walmart, Amazon, why not share all those vast profits with your own employees and help them really have a wonderful life, and they'll have such loyalty, and they'll become so creative, and they'll help make the company even way better. And I know that's true. I've seen it in my own life.
Wow. That's incredible. Half the profits. I mean, imagine if, these big companies, Amazon, Walmart, I know that, I don't know what they do actually, but imagine if they did something like that, how revolutionary that would be, and the advances those companies could make in an enlightened way. I think it supports the whole thing of a worldwide enlightenment. Now the employees can, it opens them up so energetically, and in terms of the creativity you mentioned, and to create that world that works for all that you talk about too in your books. And that is just so brilliant. And I'm so grateful you're a leader of that, and you are helping so many people in business and not necessarily in business. And I'm just so grateful for everything that you've had to share so far today. Now, is there anything else, as we're starting to wrap things up, is there any additional things you'd like to share with the audience today?
I mean, one thought about profit sharing just comes to mind. So many people have said, Marc, you're so generous. And I keep saying, duh, I'm doing this for my own selfish purposes. I know by giving so many of my profits to my employees, and I can show on paper, most publishing companies may make a 5 to 10% pre-tax profit, for instance, like 5 cents per every dollar they come in goes to the bottom line that comes in. We make, usually about 18 to 20 to 24% pre-tax profits. So we make 2, 3, 4 times the amount of profits per dollar that other companies make. How does that happen? Our profit sharing. Every employee is knowing any costs they cut or any increased sales they can do, that all goes to the bottom line. And it's a very creative company here, and it's a wonderful one. I do think it's not generosity, it's real smart business. You could call it enlightened business, and I do think enlightened business could change the world very quickly. Corporations, if corporations supported, the new great buzzword now is the 3 Ps for the bottom line, not just profit. Yeah, you got to make a profit. Yes, of course. But also people and planet. You take care of your people. You do profit sharing. You take care of the people in your communities, and you take care of the planet. And in the long run, it's far better for your company as well as for your employees and for the earth itself.
Right. So yeah, I guess it's To me, yeah, it looks like generosity though. It's like, wow, but it's actually smart as well. So it's like, it just,
Yes.
bottom line, smart as well for not only for you, but for everything and everyone. So I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like, again, like I do with a number of my guests, that we had such a good time. I could go on for hours. This is so awesome. I'd like for people, if they're interested in checking you out more, to go to your website, which is marcallen.com. We'll put it in the show notes, but marcallen.com, you can go there. And what I love about your websites and your approach, it's all laid back to me. It's like, okay, here it is. It's, it feels good. Just dive right in. And that's
Yeah.
what I recommend for people. If you're loving this Millionaire Course stuff and sounding of that, or you love the Magical Path or something else that's Mark's up to, I totally recommend it. I feel like there's so many different things, I've done over the years, but quite honestly, right now at this time, I feel like what you're doing and what I'm gaining from you is as important as anything, if not more important than anything I've ever, done before. So I can't recommend it more highly.
Well, thank you for that, Daniel. I appreciate that.
All right, so everybody take advantage of that. And then the last thing I just want to say is, if you want to check out more about me, I just real quickly, at yoursacredpurpose.com, you can go there and get a free Meditate and Make Money meditation that opens up your chakras, gets you nice and relaxed, has you listening to the downloads for the day. And I also share about 4 different ways to meditate and make money in a PDF as well, PDF guide. So anyway, so everybody, I'm so grateful to have shared together with you, with Marc today, Marc Allen, and I'm just so grateful and just looking forward to continuing to learn and gain from you, Marc, and just bringing more people into this. So I want to also just say, keep up the good work.
You too, Daniel. You too. You're doing great work.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Marc. Much love to you and everyone listening. And let's just carry this forward. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.